Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our fourth podcast of Chatting with Dave and Sam. I'm Dave.
And I am Sam.
And behind the controls, we have the rock star Nantor. So today we're going to touch on a topic that is prevalent for so many people. So many people suffer of this. And it's something that it's very dear to our hearts as well. And I come across that through my life mentorship. Most people engage me due to this problem, and that is the problem of worrying.
Oh dear.
Yes, the proverbial worry, and in particular with all the stuff that's going around, it's so common, and it's understandable that people worry about the future and worry about their business, worry about their income, and there's so many different levels of worrying. And the problem with worrying too much, and we're going to go into remedies as well, is that when you worry and you go home to your life partner, they wake up, they welcome you in open arms, and because you're in a worrying state or an anxiety state, you don't feel like it, so you don't show any emotion, no love.
Yeah.
Your kids come up to you, hey, daddy, mommy, and you just don't feel like it. You show no emotion. The dog comes up to you, and you give it a scorp because you just don't care.
Who should be listening to today's podcast?
Well, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in particular, and how to overcome some basic problems. Okay, but these life lessons also goes to anybody, because everybody worries. Entrepreneurship, it's part of our occupational situation that as entrepreneurs. We tend to worry about the future in particular, but as you go down an entrepreneur journey, you know how to deal with it more effectively. I mean,
really the tools, identifying worry on yourself and in yourself, and how to actually navigate your way through that. Because for me, worry is not a once-off thing. As environment changes and deals happen and whatever, family life evolves. Yes. Worry is almost a constant that you need to be able to navigate.
Well, that's the thing. You see that I suppose everybody worries on certain levels. It's how you deal with that worry that defines who you are. Like I said, it can be easily manifested.
Yeah.
Okay. And some people have got different ways of dealing. Anger, or, they become best friends with Jose Cuervo. A few tequilas, which doesn't solve the problem. Obviously, it just prolongs the problem. And people go to therapy. They try to do different things, but it's actually self-analysis that's so important to actually dealing with the situation.
I love that. Let's jump into it, because I feel like I'm going to walk away a lot more knowledgeable and richer. Yes. I mean, having experiences myself as well, but you obviously have a clear-cut sort of methodology based on just more experience and more insight. Yes. So I feel like I'm going to be spoiled today as well.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Well, let's just start by saying, what are the physical manifestations of being somebody that worries perpetually? Okay, so it's been scientifically proven that you live less. So if you're someone that worries a lot, you shorten your lifespan. Okay, now... I've
that's
made,
quite a pause.
Just let that sink in. You're shortening your lifespan. Now, if that's not enough motivation to try to overcome worry, then I don't know. Okay, so that's one aspect. The other one is that if you're a perpetual worrier, the chances of you getting a heart attack are very high. Okay. Thirdly, you will end up having an ulcer. Okay, you're going to be popping rennies like it's not tomorrow, and that's a clear-cut indication that you suffer with anxiety. It even talk about that it triggers things like cancer, diabetes,
depression.
And which is also quite an important aspect, it reduces your sex life. Okay,
Really?
yeah. So I mean that's.
I wonder the mechanics of that study.
Well, maybe we shouldn't go into that in this show. How do you establish that?
Sorry, curious
But
mind.
yeah, so if you want to,
So it's quite a huge ripple effect.
Yes.
Just hosting worry and not dealing with it.
yes. So it's not only got a mental, a mental situation, but also a very profound physical situation. So if you are someone that suffers from anxiety and worries about a future and worries about things, it's important that it gets dealt with. A lot of people think that it cannot be dealt, and a lot of people will say to me that they can't help themselves. This is a common.
I can't help but worry.
I can't help but worry. Okay, and if somebody comes to me for counselling and says I can't help myself worrying, one can't just discard that. You can't turn around to somebody who's got anxiety
Don't
and worry.
worry.
Get over it. You know what I mean?
Don't
Because
worry.
it's you know, like it's going up to a woman when shouting at you and say, "Listen, calm down." It's not going to work, right? So this is not. You can't just go to somebody who's got anxiety and worrying or worries and say, "Listen, just get over it." Okay, that is not
the wrong way to deal with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Like if you have to take a snapshot of your life and look at the areas that you worried the most, what would that be, Sam?
I think as a parent, your family, their well-being, and financial is a close second. And then I think more altruistic things bother me, like my purpose and so on. Yeah.
So if you analyze those aspects that you just mentioned now, how much of that worrying actually physically manifests in happening?
Zero.
Okay, so that's well.
I'm still on the journey, but so far, none of the fears or the worry based on fears and uncertainty have actually gone. The worry seems to be always the worst case scenario you paint for yourself.
Yes. So the studies, international studies show that in excess of 95% of the things that you worry about never happen. Okay. So already when you get into that state, and it takes practice, when you get into the state, remember this statement, that 95% of what you actually worry about doesn't happen. Okay. But you know, our mind is a very, very powerful tool. Now, when we give talks about this, remember that we are not our mind. Because if we are our mind, how come we hear a voice? Okay, so it's not us.
The mind is a place. Yeah.
And if you don't check your mind, or you don't are conscious of the fact that your mind is not yourself, what happens is this: you take a small problem, and your mind starts playing games with you. Okay. So it takes that problem.
It bounces it
back and forth. And before you know it, the world has ended. Okay. It just perpetuates this. And then, you know, you're going to be short of funds next month. And if you're short of funds, you won't be able to pay the school fees. And then your wife or husband's going to be pissed off with you. And they're going to start shouting at you, why have you got money, etc., etc. And your kids are not going to love you anymore. And then your wife's going to leave you, doctor going to leave you, you're going to leave your house, you're going to lose your car, and your life's going to end.
It's a whole thing.
It just goes, your mind just goes for it, okay? So it's up to us to actually say, whoa, okay, hang on. What is the situation, right? How often do you have that? I have that. Well, I've trained my mind not to do that. But I used to remember when going to a meeting, for instance, where there was going to be some kind of a bit of a conflict, okay? And as I'm driving, because now I'm focusing on driving, and so my mind is just on the loose. By the time I get there, it's like a massive drama that's going to be unfolding in front of me, when actually none of it happened.
Yeah.
And that happens, it's happened, not anymore, but it used to happen a lot.
I think you touched on something very important, Dave. It's actually like you said, you are not your mind, but you are in control of your mind.
Yes.
And you should govern your mind and actually have very good knowledge of self.
Yes.
To know that actually this is a valid worry or concern, and actually this is just noise. How do you actually filter because I mean, we're not saying don't worry at all. We're talking about how to cope with worry.
Yes.
Everybody worries. We've established that.
Yes.
How to deal with worry.
Yes.
So how do you actually, first of all, filter out what is valid and you needing to worry about, or is everything that comes your way worth worrying about and then chucking out? Or
No, I think...
how do you differentiate what's actually valid? And
I think a very good practice is to record what you're worrying about. Okay, so I keep a journal. I keep on saying this on every podcast. It's a very good practice to keep a journal. Okay, and not an electronic one, a written journal. Right. So if you've got something that you're worrying about, the best thing is to put it down. Okay, I'm worried about I cannot pay the rent at the end of this month. Okay. Then once you put it down, so now you see it. There's a different dynamic when you actually put it down on paper. Okay. Then the second step would be, how did I get to this point? What is it? What is it that brought me to this point where I cannot pay the rent? And what that does, it identifies it probably identifies a problem. Okay. Be it, okay, I spent too much money on entertainment this past month, this way at school. You identify the actual problem and you write it down. What the problem?
more income?
No. So you write what your problem is, okay, and how it came up. How did it come about?
Okay.
Okay, that's the second step. Okay. Then the third step is possible solutions, like now you said, okay, more income or whatever. You write down whatever comes through to mind, okay, even if it seems bizarre, right? And then the fourth step is what you think is the most obvious way to resolve the problem, okay? Now, it sounds simplistic until you try it.
It does sound simplistic. I'm almost waiting for the catch.
No, it sounds simplistic until you try it, because what it takes though, when you're writing down the reasons why you got to that point, is to be brutal honest with yourself. And as humans, we lie to ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So you put on the second point is so critical in analyzing as to why you got to this point where you can't pay the rent. What is it? Okay. And don't play the victim to yourself. Don't start saying, you know what I mean? Just be self-analytical. Okay. Why is it?
Yeah.
Why is it that...
Why is this happening in my business? It seems to be a pattern.
Yes.
I can't deal with this anymore. It needs
What
to
is
stop.
the pattern?
Yeah.
What is the pattern? Yeah, okay. So you identify that. Finding solutions, sometimes it takes... again, you have to be honest about it. Okay, cut back on entertainment, or this, change your car, downgrade your car, or whatever you put down all the practical solutions of achieving that goal, and then you actually come up with the best solution. Now, doing that takes a lot of courage, okay, a lot of practice, and a lot of self-searching. Okay, but what it does when you put it down on paper, it's you feel there's almost a sense of relief, because now you're taking away that noise that's going in your head.
Yeah.
Okay, because remember that our minds are, and I don't understand this, why this is the case. I really don't. But your minds are set on a negative default. Okay. Your minds always think of the worst possible outcome.
Isn't it your fight or flight kind of stuff, kind of analyzing, is this dangerous? So it's always looking at the worst case scenario, because you need to protect and preserve your life and your livelihood.
That could be a reason, but and there are studies that's been done about it. Like you said, if you go back to the times where we were still living in caves, you were living in constant danger, so your mind was continually saying, be careful, we're going to be mined territory. So, and I think the studies, it says it comes from that kind of situation. I really don't know.
Is some of it perhaps also what you've, the extent of your worry, besides it being a natural component of being human, is a lot of worry not learnt in the house as well, in the household? As a child, how you were raised, more, was there more negativity in the home?
Yes.
Or were there problem solvers in your home? Do you think that's got a big impact?
That definitely does have an impact. And what you put in your mind has a tremendous impact. Tremendous impact. Okay, so what you watch, what you read, has a definite catalyst of actually making the worry even worse or less. Okay, so if you've got a positive disposition, okay, so that you've got a positive way of thinking, that you'll find that you'll find a solution to your problems better, as opposed to when you're a negative person.
Correct.
Okay, because then I'll make an example about my mom. I love her dearly, but and I'm turning 60, and still now, if she can't get a hold of me, a default is to phone the hospitals. I mean, or phone the police, or and this is after, say, a day that she can't get a hold of me.
Were you a naughty child?
No, I was a model child. What do you mean? I was a model child.
She just expects that of you.
Not at all. And I often said to my mother, she's 81. I mean, she's great, and I said, why is it like that? Why is it? Could it be maybe my phone is on silent, or my battery's run out, or why is it
immediately the hospital,
or that I'm in jail or something like that?
But remember, Dave, when you asked me at the beginning of the podcast what type of worries I have, the first thing I mentioned was my family, my kids. And I think that's just the natural, the feminine protector that will always be, because she'll always be a mom.
No, surely. Sure. No, I understand that, but I mean, there has to be a balance, okay? I mean, I've got 3 amazing kids. I love them dearly, okay? And one's still a teenager, the other 2 are in their 20s, and if I can't get a hold of them, and I'm, well, you know what kind of a father I am, my default's not that there's something wrong.
Hospital,
No, there's not. My default's not there's something wrong. My default is, okay, well, maybe she's in lectures or is busy or whatever. So it takes quite some time before you get there. But then coming back to how our attitude is so important, okay? If your attitude is right about life in general, okay, you'll find that the way you deal with worrying is much easier as opposed to one that isn't. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that, and I think that just speaks to the entrepreneur or the person as a whole. You're going to have a positive or negative influence wherever you go, and you can be positively or negatively influenced wherever you go. So very important, just going back one step, what you feed your mind, your eyes, your ears, the people you hang around with are either going to support the negative side of you or the positive, the positivity in you. I found that sometimes you can be as upbeat as you like and positive and, do all those things, but sometimes there just isn't a happy answer. I don't know if you can imagine an example of, you know, a problem that just is not solvable at that time.
Well, if a problem is not solved at that time, it's pointless worrying about it because you can't solve it. So
What do you do once you've,
So you just have to push it aside. Look, I mean, there's a philosophy called Stoic, okay, that if you can't change something, if you can't have any influence about a particular problem, it's pointless worrying about it. You just have to move on. And some people might say, well, that's easy said than done. Well, you don't have a choice. It's just really don't have a choice. Okay. And we want to get into some practical examples in entrepreneurship on solving your problems. But your attitude really is so important. I cannot overemphasize the fact that your attitude is a problem. You know, as entrepreneurs, and we're both entrepreneurs, we know this now, that we're going to have our ups and downs, okay? It's just part of the course. It's part of the journey, okay? How you deal with... It's easy to be in a positive frame of mind and all excited when things are going well. But when things are going bad, okay, all doubt and worrying and that creeps into the equation. And some people let that affect them to such an extent they can't even function. Now, if you can't even function, then you can't even get out of the situation, right? This is why I say that if you're worrying about a particular problem, write it down. Write it down.
That's the first step. The first step in dealing
with it.
Not making it go away, not making it invisible or non-existent, but just dealing with it head on.
Yeah, write it down. Be brutally honest how you got to this point. Okay. The third, come up with all possible solutions to that, and the fourth step is actually finding what you think is the best solution. Okay.
That's a great tool for the workplace as well. If, for example, you as the owner of a company are dealing with an employee who worries to the point of it's affecting their work, and you can sometimes see this in your organization. Someone is just not getting past the point that they need to get past, and it's linked to worry. It affects their work, their productivity, staff morale, all of that. So how would you advise people in that position who are not themselves maybe worrying, but dealing with someone who simply just won't face the reality and the validity of their worry? How would you deal with that from the outside? How would you assist someone? Because it seems to me, it's almost, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's so in the DNA of the person to worry. It's almost like, how do you help them?
All right, so if that person's an employee of yours, okay, you have to show leadership, right? So it's pointless going up to somebody that's worrying to that level that you just mentioned and just try to be a boss, okay, and just tell that employee just get your act together, okay, because that's obviously not going to work, okay. So to be a true leader, first of all, you would have to acknowledge that person's got a problem, okay, and you have to, if you care about your employees, then you sit the employee down and you deal with whatever that person's worrying about, okay. I think sometimes, particularly in that kind of situation, just the fact that employee knows that there's somebody that they can go to, even though it's their boss, but being a leader would be the case where you're actually able to sit and listen, okay, with an open mind and effect some positive change, okay. Just the release lightens the load, and that shows true leadership.
Can I just ask you something? I'm just thinking of personal experience. Say I was now the young, handsome employee.
Which you are.
Yes, thank you. Right? And I have a worry about personal safety at the workplace. how would you describe that as a worry, over worry, or if it's a valid reason? How do you so my question is, how do you differentiate the two, and how would you as a business, as the boss, would handle it? How would you handle it?
Okay, so I think we must separate a concern from a worry. Okay, a worry is a deeper scenario. A concern, a safety concern. If you're an employee and you're concerned about particular safety, if you go to your leader and you deal with it by expressing, listen, I'm concerned that there is this kind of a situation. And if the person's a true leader, they will listen and effect a change. Okay, but there's a big difference between concern and a worry. Okay. So, but that's how you deal with it. What is key, which brings me to the next section of what we're discussing, is communication. It's so key. Okay, if you've got these kind of concerns, or it's something bugging you, or whatever the situation is, be it that you can't pay your rent, be it that you can't pay your staff, be it that you can't pay your suppliers, okay? If a supplier phones you because you're late in a payment, don't hide. Take the call. As painful as it is, people respond well to honesty and open communication, okay?
I hear you.
People don't respond well when they feel that you're ducking and diving and don't want to deal with the problem. Okay.
So be proactive. Communicate.
Communicate. Whatever's worrying you, whatever the worry is. Okay. Once you've done the steps that I talked about, communicate. Communicate. And I just find that's such a basic thing to do. And yet people just don't do it. They either feel embarrassed, or their ego kicks in, or pride kicks in, etc. So then they live with this worry.
Yes.
Okay. And then the landlord's phoning. That's your game. Yeah. And landlord's phoning, and they're not taking the call. Now the landlord's getting even more upset. So the next communication is even more aggro. So it creates more. Then you go to bed in a worry state, you can't sleep at night, you wake up the next morning, you're complete fatigued, the calls are still there, it's not been dealt with, and you've not been communicated, and you're just perpetuating a problem.
Yeah, so you just actually, it's almost like you shut down when you should be communicating the most.
Yes. So a good default would be the things that you don't want to do under the circumstances is what you do. Okay. Well, you don't want to take the call, just shut your mind and take the call.
In fact, I would go so far as saying to unteach yourself the existing response to worry. You need to almost identify what you do when you worry and have a clear-cut plan in place. So month end is coming. Instead of waiting for the call that's inevitable, make the call.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, you manage a portfolio of properties. So if a tenant phones you and says, "Listen, I'd say on the 25th of a month," and says, "Listen, I've got a problem. Okay, I can only pay you on the 15th, or I'm going to be a month late." Okay.
Whatever the situation.
And it gives you a valid situation, but phones you before the time. As opposed to you phoning somebody on the 3rd of the month and saying, "Why haven't you paid your rent?" Are your actions going to be different?
100%. It's going to be the opposite. So if you're calling me on the 25th to explain, or as soon as you know, because some people have technical issues with their salaries getting paid, or they've changed their bank account or whatever. I promise you, besides, having advised me, the landlords are much more receptive to that approach than, the rent didn't hit the account the first. You spent all day calling the person. Red flags going off. The other party is causing worry now in a space outside of their own by not dealing with the worry and the situation, and not being adult about it. And I always encourage my clients, my tenants, please, communication. It is going to save your butt. It's going to open doors for you. It's going to give you grace. And it's actually going to help you see, because now you're calmer, everybody's been dealt with. It will help you see solutions much quicker as well. But if you hold on to it, you actually are sharing and allowing worry to spill over into other spaces. So very much different outcomes, different conversation. If you pick up the phone and not just creditors, but even if there's conflict in the family or relationships or whatever, to be the person to be proactive and kind of have that as a mechanism in yourself versus running away and dodging. I think it's a brilliant trajectory to put yourself on, and that is character building.
Yes.
That is character building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's been true to yourself and being ethical, right? So now, say for instance, you're in business and your debtors, your people that owe you money, are not paying you. And you know that they're not paying you. And it's coming towards the end of the month, and you've got a salary bill to pay, and you can't pay your salaries. Okay. So I've seen entrepreneurs trying to avoid the issue, okay, which ends up being a complete disaster. Okay. If you cannot pay your employees at the end of the month, okay, and you're in business, it's your duty to confront the situation head on, okay, and take everybody in and explain the situation and be completely transparent and communicate the situation properly. And you will find, and if you speak to your employees and say, look, as funds come in, who's the most critical, and you have a discussion on that level, I'm telling you, your staff will be more receptive to that kind of scenario than
again on the first. It's like, where's my salary?
Yeah. Obviously, it will fall a bit flat if you've got a Porsche park outside and you're having this kind of convo. Okay, then you're not being very transparent. Okay, but if people see that you are genuine, okay, and particularly when you're building a business, well, I've got different views. I've got quite radical views about how to treat employees, because I don't view employees as employees. I view people that work in our various companies as partners. Okay. So you communicate properly. Their reaction will be very different to when they look at the bank on the bank account on the 25th of the 6th of the month and the salary is not there.
Yeah.
And then they have to phone you and say, Dave, I haven't seen my salary. And then you turn around and say, oh, no, sorry, man.
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
I'm waiting. That is not going to done well. And the reason why it's not going to go down well, besides the fact that it's a massive inconvenience for an employee and disrespectful, in fact, not conveying the situation, people have got debit orders. So if there's going to be a lag, rather give people a time to phone the banks and say, listen, and the banks are accommodating, okay? Some someone just bounces everything. But if you, again, if you communicate with the bank before before these things happen, okay, things are put in place and processes so that there's damage control, okay? So it's communication all around, okay? And that is how you avert a situation with your staff.
I think that's brilliant, Dave, because communication actually empowers you in that worry or when you're facing that thing. By not communicating, you're disempowering yourself. Because once you've communicated, you then get to have a real understanding of what you need to do next.
Yes.
The answer that you're sort of speaking about. So let's say that you've communicated with your staff and, the first has come and gone. I want to hear from a business perspective what the entrepreneur is able to do if the payday has come and gone, and let's say the money still hasn't been paid, the worry is still there. You've done everything, you've addressed it, you've communicated. Would you just go back to them and be honest again, or would you actually go and make a loan, or what? How do you get to the answer?
Okay, first of all,
because that's a very common, I think, scenario for a startup, even SMMEs, where they're just not getting paid on time.
So this is where, again, leadership comes into play, okay? Before you approach your staff, way before the time on what's going on, you have to make an assessment. You're going to have to make a judgment call. So you're going to phone all your people that owe you money, first of all, okay? So you phone all your debtors and get a sense of what their situation is, okay? Some will be honest with you. You have circumstances where people will say, yes, I'll pay you, and they don't pay you. But you make a judgment call from where you're at, okay, of whether people are going to pay you or not, okay? So once you make that judgment call, then you look at other situations, okay? Because remember, it's a quick turnaround. You might have to borrow from the bank, but we've got a banking system where you practically have to prove to them that you don't owe the money before they lend you money. Okay, okay. So that is quite a process, I'm afraid. Then another route obviously would be to go to close friends and family and say, listen, I need a short-term loan. There's no dishonor in asking.
There's none. Yeah.
Remember that you have to put your own pride, and if you've got ego and that, in your pocket, because this is affecting people's lives.
Correct.
And when you play with people's lives, you don't have the luxury of now worrying about what people think of you. In fact, what people think of you is none of your business. Okay, you have to look after your staff, right? So you make an assessment of when you're going to get connections. Okay. Then you pursue bank loans, and you also pursue situations with family and friends that give you short-term loans. Yeah,
I know that you can, if you have actual invoices that are outstanding and due to be paid, you can borrow against that as well.
It's invoice discounting.
Correct,
yes, you can. Yeah. Look, but remember, it's a process. It is a process.
But at this stage, you now need to make something happen.
Now you need to make happen. Yeah. But you know what? I find that if you speak to people, and this is now across everything, across not only employees, across people in general. If you're just completely honest and open with people, it's rare that they come back with a negative. Yes, they might. Obviously, if you expect it to be paid as a staff member, and you're not going to get paid, you're not going to be happy about it. So you're going to be annoyed, but you'll find that from your side, by being honest, it takes a load off your shoulders as well. That it reduces your own worry. You're not passing the worry over to somebody else, but you're sharing the worry. Okay.
I hear you.
Now, there's also something that's been proven to work. Okay, it's a little bit controversial, and hopefully it will be taken in this light that I'm saying it. But it's been scientifically proven that by giving, you reduce worry.
Okay.
Now, what I mean by
scientifically proven.
Scientifically,
as in endorphin levels are up.
No, it's fine. Like the Mad Oaks with white gowns in labs, and they've proven that by giving reduces stress and worry.
Okay.
Giving, okay. And one day I'm going to write something about this, because the power of giving is so underrated, and it's so easy. Okay. Now. And what I mean by that is this, okay? So say, for instance, you are going through your own problems, and you're worrying about your problems. A good, healthy way to reduce that is by listening to someone else's problems and worries.
Okay.
Okay.
Giving off time there.
So actually sitting and advising somebody and expressing your view on how to resolve that problem while you're going through your own problems has been scientifically proven that it reduces your stress level.
Okay.
Another thing, so another thing which is actually very, very important, and I've tested this, so I'm talking from practical experience here, that when you lay in cash, now some people say I'm probably smoking my socks. I haven't, but if you're going through personal financial crisis, and I'm in crisis, and I've gone through. I mean, I've shared crisis situations that I've gone through with you. That I've slept in cars when I was that giving cash of what you have, is liberating, and I've done this so many times, and I had, like, say for instance, I've got the last 50 rand in literally now, 50 rand in my wallet, and I give it away, and that's all I had for. It comes back. And I'm, it's not. I'm not religious. So it's nothing to do with the Bible. So I'm not religious. I'm not religious. If you give, you just give for the sake of giving. The Egyptian, ancient Egyptians had a saying called ma'at. Spelled M-A-A-T. To give for the sake of giving. Well, you just give for the sake of giving. With nothing
no
motive, not expecting anything back in return. I don't agree with some sentiment, and I'm going to get controversial. Unlike me, obviously, I never get controversial. but the preaching of some charismatic churches where they say that you have to give to receive. So in other words, the doctrine that the motive of giving, so you're not giving because it comes from the heart or that you want to help somebody, but you're giving for the sake of getting a return. I think is a very bad.
It's very erroneous doctrine.
It's a very erroneous doctrine because that's not the way. I've read the Bible, and that's not how it's portrayed.
That's not how reciprocity works.
It's not how it's portrayed. So I don't know how it got twisted along the line.
Forgive me car payments.
It's like, Lord, I'm leaving $1,000. I need $10,000 at the end of the month. It doesn't work like that. And whoever preaches that, run away. Because that's not
100%.
Truth. So by giving, it liberates you. It's just I cannot emphasize. I really cannot emphasize how important it is to give of your time, of your energy, of your money. Not recklessly. I'm not suggesting to be reckless. But it's so fundamentally so important, that it will change your life. It will, I guarantee 100%, I'm prepared to put money to the statement, that if you're a person that worries a lot, try it. I challenge people, it's an open challenge, that if you're a person that worries about stuff, about things, about love, etc., give of your time. Listen to other people's problems. Give of some money that you can. You know what? It's a fundamental truth in life that whatever you're going through, how bad you think it is for you, there's always someone else that's going even worse.
Come on. That's the truth,
There's always someone else that's actually going through a worse situation.
So you should actually be giving out of your own need and a point of understanding.
Yes.
Yes. That's giving.
That's such a powerful thing you just said, Sam. I love you for what you said. Do you know who the biggest givers are? Do you know the people that live in the street?
I've seen it.
I've seen this. You give somebody that's a homeless person, right? A homeless person. You give them a pizza. I tell you, more times than not, they will get up and they'll go to other homeless people and they will share the pizza.
It shares.
You give them 20 rand or whatever, 30 rand. Okay, they will share that. They won't hide it away from themselves. They'll freely give to other people. And that's just a lesson in that.
That's so valuable. And I've looked at the homeless people, and don't they seem like the most carefree bunch?
Yeah.
They don't, I mean, they've got the most to worry about. There's no shelter, there's no food. So those are real, like, daily worries. But when I pass a homeless person, they're never short of a smile.
Yeah.
And it's not always manipulative or asking for money. They're the most polite people. And I've actually seen what you're talking about, the sharing amongst each other and giving out of their own need and understanding the hunger or the need of the other person. And in that moment, and I really appreciate what you're saying and how you're drilling it into people, trying to drill it into people. In that moment, you're actually rising beyond your own problem.
Yes.
You are actually growing when you're doing acts of kindness like that, despite your own disposition and what you're going through.
And you're worrying about the situation.
You really are rising above your circumstance and above your own worry.
Yes.
So I love that you just took a minute there to go into it.
Yes.
And all too often, we get consumed by worry. We get consumed by our own circumstances and our own, environment and what is going on, that you don't see the worry and the need of others. And I think what we're talking about here today is not just entrepreneurship and overcoming worry, but self-development in the area of worry, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Self-development, well, you know me, I'm a big fan of self-development.
Yeah.
Now, what are some practical solutions in reducing worry? Okay. Sleep more. Okay. Now, sleep is so important, and people will say, well, I'm worrying so much I can't sleep. Okay. Then if you're worrying so much that you can't sleep, exercise so much that when you get into bed, you fall asleep. Okay. So exercising and sleeping are two fundamental ways, physical ways of actually reducing stress and worry. Okay. It's very simplistic. People don't do it. What they do, or what I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs do, is they drink a lot, they'll smoke a lot, and really that really doesn't affect the situation. Rather just change those habits and go and exercise. Yeah. If you know that you're going to go, I believe in sleeping between 7 to 8 hours a day. Okay, and I do it. I think I've just been blessed that the walls around me can probably collapse and I'll just go to bed and within 60 seconds and fall asleep. I've been blessed. I don't know where it comes from. My girlfriend's
it's
always...
Here goes 8 hours.
Like there, and some of my girlfriends have been so frustrated with me and say, how do you do it? How is it possible that you put your head...
Seconds later.
Yeah, seconds. That's literally, it's like, I'm gone, okay? And it's because I've overcome this problem. I understand. I've overcome the worrying because I know I've been an entrepreneur for 36 years, and I know for a fact that it always turns. Whatever the problem is, it's dealt with eventually, and it always turns. Okay. So if you've got that belief, if you've got that self-belief that you've got this capability, you'll worry less. Okay?
True.
And if you analyze, if you take a snapshot, all the three of us, right? If you go back in our lives and see where we've been going through really, really bad times in our lives, okay? If you analyze it, and you see that you've overcome it, okay? So if you're able to overcome it once, you're still the same individual, be able to overcome it again. Okay. One thing that they can't take away from you, nobody can take your faculties. Okay. And this is you should guard with your life. Okay, well, it's illogical, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were able to overcome it in the past, you will overcome it again. And as you grow older, it gets easier. This is why when I go to bed and I put my head down, it doesn't matter what's going on.
60
I
seconds.
fall asleep. But exercising is so important. Now, some people also will turn around and say, yeah, I've got this, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mother. Remember, I'm a big fan of single mothers. I think they're rock stars. It's so unappreciated. So accolades, and my sister's one of them, but I love dearly, and she's a complete rock star. You are able, if you manage your time properly, which is complete another topic, which if you manage it properly, and it can be managed, you find time for everything that you want to do. Okay. Again, I would like, if somebody is listening to the podcast and says BS, that's not true. Okay. I challenge that person again to send me a schedule. Email it to me or WhatsApp it to me. Give me your schedule of your timing. Exactly. And I promise you I'll find time. I'll find some time.
So it's got to do with disciplining yourself in a big way. How you manage stress, worry, your lifestyle, your health, all of that. You need to have total command of your time and what you want to have your day look like.
It's totally intertwined.
Yeah.
Completely. Nothing is in isolation. Okay. If you're sleeping 3 to 4 hours a day, your stress levels will be up. I mean, that's a given. If you do not exercise on a weekly basis, your stress levels will go up.
Yeah.
If you smoke and drink a lot, your stress levels will go up.
It's biological.
That's you know. So don't be a chain smoker and think, oh well, I don't know why I worry so much.
Yeah.
It's because you're smoking, stupid. You're smoking too much, okay? I mean, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Or you find people that drink 1 or 2 bottles of wine a night, and then they wake up the next morning feeling like with a Barbie, and no, I can't deal with what's going on, etc. Well, just have 1 glass of wine, okay? Wait for the weekends where you fall over and carry on, okay? So it's all practices. Also, your spirituality and religion has got such a massive
Impact.
Impact. If you're a Christian or Muslim or Jewish, you've got that faith.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to work out.
So if you got that faith, then as a Christian, put it to the Lord.
Yeah.
Put it to the Lord and say, this is something that I'm going through. A Muslim, put it Allah and just. You've got that point of reference.
That step of either putting it on a page, talking to someone, taking it to God, that just make that first step to share.
All three. Not
three.
One or
so
not
on
one
all
or
different. Make sure you've dealt with it on all levels.
On all levels,
You.
So you have to deal with it. For those of us that are spiritual. We are spiritual. What I do is I meditate. I meditate through it. Okay, and I clear my mind and I have inner peace. And if you're religious, as I said, if you're a Christian or Muslim or Jewish,
and make time for those things again coming. You can't roll out of bed at 8, expect to get everything done, and come home at 6 and say, I don't have time. Well, then you need to get out of bed earlier.
Yeah. Well, but still sleep 7 to 8 hours.
You go to sleep earlier.
Go to sleep earlier. and people say, and then people say, no, but I can't fall asleep. Go for a run.
Yes.
Then go to sleep because then you feel tired.
Excuses.
No,
especially after this podcast today.
No, it's nonsense.
No excuses.
So the 2 challenges I'm putting out, okay, and then people can email me or WhatsApp me. They can find my email address and my WhatsApp number on my Facebook profile or on my Kaban Facebook page.
So what's your challenge?
The challenge is this, okay? And I'm prepared to put money on this kind of situation. If you're going through a problem, okay, whatever the problem is, whatever it's related to, go and help somebody in a similar problem, okay? Try that out.
And give us feedback.
And give us feedback.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. Okay. That if you're feeling this way, go out and try it out. Okay, give.
I love that.
But give, with the right attitude,
Yes.
though. Don't say, "Well, I'm going to give it and I'm going to show it."
Yeah, like we
that
said,
is wrong.
give out of your need.
Yeah, just try that.
Understanding.
Okay? That's the first challenge. The second challenge, for those of you that says, "I don't have the time," okay, I challenge you to send me your schedule. I challenge you, okay, and let me have a look. What if you're saying no, that is absolute rubbish and that? What have you got to lose? Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right, and if I'm right, I might be able to solve a problem.
I was going to slip in a really snarky comment. I said, "Well, maybe some people from government will be mailing you."
No, no, I don't deal with crooks and criminals.
I will get some stuff done.
Yeah. No, well, first of all, they must get a brain. It's important if you get
your faculties, take charge of your faculties.
We can't have a minister of police that's got preschool certification.
Yeah.
Maybe the minister of police must have a bit of police background. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there as an
I'd say
idea.
that too.
As like an idea,
Yeah.
Okay. And like we got ministers that actually haven't got. Are we getting political now? Are we allowed to get political?
We're not.
Oh, is it?
We're not, because this worries me.
Well, okay, so this is
I don't know anything about that.
Let's discuss a collective worry.
Have we got time?
No, we got time. Collective worry. Okay. Yeah. Collective worry.
Collective worry.
A collective
State
worry.
of our nation.
No, state of our nation. Okay. We're in groot gemors, nee. Okay. It is a worry. It is a worry.
We're in
right?
Poop Street right now.
No, and it's now people will say, well, the state of our nation, we can't sort out
do anything.
Yeah. Okay, well, I had a little conversation yesterday. I can't name the gentleman, and 3 weeks ago, Electricity Council was put together. Okay. And we had a discussion. It's got the inner workings about what's going on with Eskom. Okay. And I said to him, yeah, look, this is just like a crazy situation or what's going on. It's really madness. And actually, there is some things going on that surprised me. Okay. I can't go into
positive things.
I can't go into detail. And one of the biggest problems that Eskom has is that they're only using 56% of the capacity at the moment due to all kinds of shenanigans that go into Eskom. Okay. But that ratio, I have it under good authority, and I'm going to stick my neck out. That ratio in the next 2 years is going to change to 82%.
What?
My reaction is the same. I said, listen, now you talk. He says, listen.
Can you break down what does it mean?
Well, it means, okay, so say for instance, we have a certain level of generating power in South Africa with a number of, with Koeberg and about 27 or so coal power stations. And
all the energy together.
And the solar and that. We've got a certain amount of electricity that our country can generate. Okay. When we go to different stages, like now we're sitting, I don't know, I lost track. But we're generating currently at about 55-56% of what we have in total. Okay, so this is why we have load shedding.
Yeah.
Or let's call it blackouts.
So how is it just going to switch like that?
No, well, it's not going to just switch like that. Okay, it's very complicated.
Is it now?
Okay, but there is a plan. Okay, I was quite surprised. And this person that I spoke to is in high. It's in this council that was brought 3 weeks ago.
Let's not beat around the bush. What you're saying is that there's a deliberate plan to let it fall and let's have load shedding, and then they will miraculously come to an answer. answer for it, and that was the whole plan. To begin
No,
with.
no, it's not. It's not miraculous. The situation that's going on in a lot of power stations. Remember that you've got the Zuma cronies, the RET faction, that are sabotaging power stations to make
stealing
Ramaphosa looking
hardware
bad.
and
The white CEO thing is just a masquerade that they're saying because what they're actually gunning for, this faction, the RET faction, they're gunning for Ramaphosa. Okay, they want to show him that they want to show the public that he's a bad president, he should be removed, okay? Because they're blaming him. Meantime, it's.
I don't agree. Let me give you a different scenario. Why then sell the coal mines if that is the plan? Why then take the money from America to build to go into new renewable energy when you're not a first world country, where first world countries struggle to do the renewable energy. Why would you go for that then?
No, but that's a totally different discussion, Antal. The current situation with our coal power stations, and we're not going to move away from coal. We're still going to go coal.
You don't know about the 8 billion that.
That's been no, that's coming through, but that doesn't negate the fact that our current coal power stations, what's going inside there, and this is what's causing blackouts, it's something it's in the process of being resolved. Okay, so what's happening, for instance, coal gets loaded up at the mine, it goes to a power station, it gets sidetracked, they take out the coal, they load on rocks, they go through, they're in cahoots with the person in a mine. Those rocks go on a conveyor belt. It breaks the crusher. Okay, the mechanism it breaks the crusher. It's shut down. Okay?
Oh wow!
Or some of the rocks get into the boilers, and because it's rocks, it explodes, and it causes a short. Okay.
Do you know about the theory that they're shipping out coal to the UK? Do you know about that?
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying it's I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you that the sabotage is happening.
Yes.
But I think it's a global agenda as well, and not just the local way they're trying to get out. I agree with you that.
But we're discussing the availability of what we have currently, how that's going to improve. Okay. Now I can't go into look. It's confidential. I can't get into detail, but there is a plan. There is a plan. Okay?
They're addressing the worry
of the nation. Yeah, no. This and I said to this guy, this minister of electricity is going to be appointed. He says, "Watch, it's going to be a solid guy.
Okay,
it's going to be the person's been identified. It's going to be a solid guy. Okay, so I'm quietly optimistic that there is a side of the ANC. Remember, I'm very vocal about the ANC. That's a bunch of crooks and criminals. And anyway, I'm not going to go.
You and by this stage, most of South Africa. I mean, the writing's on the wall there.
Yeah. So, and this is part of the process that's going to be sorted out. And I do believe emphatically that in 2024, our country is going to be at a crossroads. Okay. And I mean, we're discussing about worrying. I mean, we're worrying about the future. We're worrying about the future of our kids. Okay, these are important worries. Okay, now how we deal with these worries is important. Now, what is also important when you're worrying about the future is be informed. Okay, because the press, unfortunately, when you read the Sunday Times, you cannot trust what you read.
You can't.
You can't trust what you read. When you read the Cape Times is owned by Dr. Ital, I mean, you can't trust certain publications, and you have to discern between the publications what's actually happening.
So it's not even a case of lack of knowledge; it's a case of
discerning.
Wrong information.
Like the Daily Maverick, I think it's called. It's also. You have to read it and you have to read different publications and make your own opinion. Don't just accept what you read in the papers. Okay, unfortunately, we're living in that age.
Yeah.
Okay, and remember that the papers were always the default of a newspaper is to write negative situations. Okay, so I'm an eternal optimist. So my attitude is always
I
right.
want to be optimistic. I've listened to what you said now, right? And I want to be optimistic with you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But even if you get a minister and this guy is baby Jesus and he's just the best, right?
Yeah.
It still doesn't get away from the fact that we sold out to America very long time ago. That's my opinion. I can't really prove it, but what I can prove is that America has an agenda for us, and Ramaphosa is going with that agenda to get us to not use coal. So
Okay,
that is a known fact. So even if you have the minister in, you're still going to sit with the problem that we are following America's agenda.
Yeah, but now look at Europe. Because of the gas situation with Russia, they're firing up the coal power stations again in Germany. Okay, so Nantel, there are nuances all across.
Yeah.
You know the nuances. But the bottom line, is this: that there are voices and there are processes afoot that we are not aware of. Okay, and that we're not privy. Okay, that's going in the background. That I've been privy to it, and it's interesting. Let's just leave it in interesting. But 2024, okay, we're talking about worrying about the future of our country. 2024 is going to be a crossroad. Now, people must say, well, this is a worry that you can do nothing about, right? Nonsense. Go and vote.
Definitely.
Go and vote. You can do something about it. You can. Now, if you're going to vote for the ANC, then you're an idiot. Okay, then we deserve the nonsense. Okay?
You enabling the cycle.
You're enabling the cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. The most ideal situation. There are two scenarios about our future. Okay, one is that the ANC dip below 40%, which I pray to the universe that happens. That you're going to have a government of national unity. So then they'll sort, in the next 2 years, I believe that all the opposition parties will sort their nonsense out, and they'll start not uniting, but they'll find common ground. A common ground is to keep the ANC out. Okay, even the EFF, by the way. Okay, because the EFF swings whichever way. They just make a lot of noise, but anyway. Okay, so that's one option. Okay. I reckon that's quite a good option. Good option. Second option, okay, which I predicted as well a couple of years ago, is look, even though I call the ANC a criminal organization, within this criminal organization there is some goodness actually. There are some good guys. I mean, there are some good guys. Okay. It's the RT fiction.
It's not all rotten.
No, it's the Ijsmangashule and the Supras. I mean, they're complete and utter gangsters. I mean, rogues, complete rogues. It's not a coincidence that Malema went and visited Zuma, okay, and had tea, Kamstag, okay. The possibility is there that there will be a strong center when the possibility of the ANC splitting, with the RT faction and the EFF forming their own political party, and the ANC centre and the DA with other political parties forming a government of a coalition government. There is a distinct possibility. Look at the nuances. Listen to the nuances. Listen to the way the DA is talking these days. And I bet you some DA members are going to write to me and say yes. but look.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
So those are the two scenarios which I think is possible. The worst possible scenario.
The third one, which we don't even want to say out loud.
It's I don't know what I will do. Maybe I'll have sleepless nights then. if the ANC comes back into full power
Yeah.
in 2024.
And no change.
Because then I'm afraid that it will take a miracle to fix our country if that's going to happen. Because at the rate that we're going,
there's a lot of stress on households, on businesses.
oh, it's a
and
massive worry. Because look at the scenario situation. As a business owner, you've got load shedding and blackouts. I mean, how on earth do you budget for that? Now imagine when you go to stores and for hours they shut down, they reduce the turnover. It's a massive worry. It's a big problem, and that's one of those things that you can do nothing about at the time, but you can in 2024 you can vote. Okay.
You know what I'm hoping for is that the smaller parties start getting like I want to say CCC. I want to say the smaller parties are PA
Yes.
and that, because my hope is to get rid of the ANC and the DA.
Yes.
Just have something fresh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Because
something fresh, yeah.
we need a new culture in this
Yeah.
political culture
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this country.
yeah.
Because the route that we're going
Yeah.
is just not working for us.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know, the 1995 gang, they need to go. I think, or 94 gang, 1995 gang. I think that this is a turning point for a lot of people on an individual level, the next election. Because, again, it's that voice to kind of have power and do something that we need to go and exercise. But at the same time, I've been exercising my voice for the past how many elections? It's not been heard.
No, but the thing is that you are making a difference by just voting. Okay. So if you're worrying about the future, don't stay at home, vote. Okay, I mean that is important.
Irrespective of whether
No,
your
you
party
vote, no.
wins or
No, because
whatever.
if- because-
it's the power to actually have a say.
Yeah, because if everybody's got the attitude that you have, that
Yeah.
you feel you don't, then it's not
Nobody's
going to
gonna
be
show.
changed. Not
Yeah.
going to change.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
we are spoiled. Actually, this is one last thing for me. We are, for years, we didn't have a coloured vote. Because the minute the coloured vote got any traction, then the DA would scoop up. Peter
It's a
Maree-
battle
Peter
between-
Maree, what is
Yes,
it?
pretty much, yeah.
He was one of those. He sold out. What's the minister? Is now a minister.
Patricia de Lille.
Patricia de Lille,
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
sold
good
out.
part, yeah.
And for years we didn't have a voice, and now we have a militant voice actually.
The PAC.
The CCC. It's very militant, but I understand where they're coming from. They're stepping wrong, according to me, in my personal opinion. But at least there's a genuine voice that people that I was lucky enough to interview them before they got into Parliament.
Oh, okay.
So they are community workers, and I spoke to them off camera.
Okay.
And I could see his heart.
There's a genuine,
He's a
a
genuine.
yeah.
He steps wrong where the race is. He should learn how to communicate and work with different races. Because he's so nationalist. If you think about it,
Oh, I
which
see.
is not a good thing, really.
Yeah.
And not again isolate a group.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
It needs to be inclusive.
Yes.
Your love for your people shouldn't be born out of hatred for another.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we the positive thing is we have a voice. The colored people have a voice, and
Yes.
they are the majority in the Western Cape.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I hope that to God that they wake up and make a proper decision and not vote for the DA that doesn't. And I'm not going to say this is my opinion. That doesn't really care for them. You know what I'm saying? And if whoever the party is, if the party delivers for your people and for you in general, go for that party. Whether
That's
it's
it.
black, white,
That's it.
pink,
Yes.
oranje, whatever that
Yes.
is. Really.
Yes. Oranje. Well, but my mean not so much.
So I think let's stop being ping pong balls.
Yeah. All right. On that lovely note,
On that lovely note.
we just swung our conversation political, but I mean, worrying about the future
Relevant, yeah.
is relevant. There's hope, and I loved this podcast. I think
enjoyed it, yeah.
And please, people, feel free to communicate with us. We will answer. Both Sam and I are life and business mentors, so you can communicate
Drop
with
us
us.
a line in the comment.
you can-
many ways to reach out. Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Dave Romero, Sam Kogel.
Reach out.
YouTube as well.
Reach
we want to get our message
Yes.
and what we're speaking here to the right audience,
Yes.
or it's going to be fruitless.
Yes.
So even those listening, and you know people in your network that could really, you know what he is, you know what he wants, you know, just send them the link. That's how things happen organically.
Yeah, and we do stuff pro bono. We try as much as we can, but sometimes we have to charge. But just reach out to us.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. On that note, are we going to bid you farewell till next week?
Thank you.
Last word from you, Sam?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. That was very insightful. And to our listeners, I mean, if you've been tuning in, you really can see that there is a lot of things to unpack to be successful as an entrepreneur. It's not just business, product, services. It is most and first and foremost your self-development.
Nantal?
Yeah.
Worrying doesn't help. And for those that not even business, if you worry too much or you stress too much, like you said, exercise, and there's hormones as well, imbalance that causes.
Correct.
You know, so that's that expert work. But working out is definitely the first thing to do.
And on that note, I bid you farewell till next week.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Goodbye.